So here we have a student, Mac. He came to me, pretty good golfer, but a 4 or 5 handicap, but was struggling with the overdraws and pulled draws. First, we realized that his setup wasn't quite conducive to his misses, i.e., his grip was too strong. So we weakened off his grip. This was his old grip here, new grip here. Nothing too crazy, but definitely got it into a little bit more neutral position for him. Then, as we watched in his old swing on the left here, we're going to see his pivot action, which was he would take the club back fine, definitely a little bit of stronger arms. So we worked on finding some softness into the arms for him and getting his lower body to get into a proper pivot position. And so that would be to get this lead knee to start working in, so the lead hip would internally rotate more, which is going to help a lot in the downswing, which you're going to see here in a second. Once he got near the top of his backswing, he would aggressively drive his lead knee and his hip too much, not only towards the target, but also up and out of the way. And we would see this lead hip start clearing, and his lead pelvis would rise too early into his transitional phases. You can see that motion right here. Boom. Okay. And so what that does is that starts pulling his arms down, would steepen the club just a little bit for him, and would drastically have him drag his hands around the corner with obviously a too strong club face, getting those pull draws. And you can see also a big release pattern to boot. Okay. Now we've got our after on the right here where we neutralize some of that grip, got him just into a little bit more of a neutral setup. And we definitely got his lower body to start properly moving into the golf swing. As he started shifting and moving off of the golf ball, we got a little bit softness into his arms, which helped the club get into a better spot at the top and also transition better coming down from there. But the big thing that we cleaned up was his lower body action. If you watch that lead knee, it's starting to bank in some now, and that lead pelvis stays in a much more lowered position as he gets into his transitional phases and his shift right here. As you work down and through, you can see how his lead side and lead knee is in a much better position, which allowed his upper body to start staying down and covering the golf ball, which would limit that big throw through impact for him to get that ball starting on a much better line. I was mentioning in Mac's videos, a couple things that we keyed in on working was mostly his lead side and his lead leg, lead pelvis. In his swings, you would notice from face on, as you worked off the golf ball, his lead knee would stay a little too straight, working off of the golf ball, and then would snap towards the target, and then his lead hip would start rising up too early. So what we worked on was making sure that his lead knee and his lead hip would work in and towards the golf ball. So his lead hip is internally rotating and getting the much needed pelvis tilts we would get to get up to the top of the backswing. Then in the transition, we would keep it a little longer, okay, not forcing that lead hip to go high and up and out of the way, which would pull his hand path out too dramatically as he worked down from the top. From down the line, you'd see sort of this action where as he's working off the golf ball, his lead hip would rise up too early and then kick his hand path out as he started to work down. Now that his lead pelvis and lead knee is working better into the backswing and into the transition, his hands could work down in a smoother state. Lastly, we worked a little bit on his arms. He would get a tendency to get really, really rigid off the golf ball, and his arms would almost straighten too much as he got up to the top and would sort of snap the club from here. So all we did is just got a little bit of softness into his arms, get the club into a little bit of better position. But mostly it was that lead side pelvis that would allow his hands and his club to come down a better plane, so he could hit better golf shots. Now, from down the line here, we obviously cleaned up just a touch of his address position, got his lower body just a little bit closer to that golf ball. On the left, obviously before, we've got that takeaway where the arms are just too straight, too locked out. And as he works up to the top, again, his arm structure wasn't the issue, but we're going to see this lower body and that lead knee and that lead pelvis just snap out of the way, which just kicks his hand path out dramatically. And then from here, he's trying to lower the handle, and then the handle goes left around too early and closes that face with that really active hand action, closing that club face, getting those like pull draws. And then on the right here, we cleaned up, getting his arms into that softer state as he works off the golf ball, getting the arms and the club into just a little bit better position at the top. We can see how the face is in a little bit better position here. And then the big one obviously was his lead knee and his pelvis. You can see here from down the line, it stays lower, longer, so his arms don't kick out and brings that club down a better plane so he can just release it softly through that impact area.